Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tag12, however you wanna call me, I don't really care. And I want to apologize first and foremost for the last two uploads. One of the videos wasn't supposed to go online because the audio issues that I had were related to my software program and also to my microphone, which just changed the settings again. That's unfortunately a problem that I have been facing a few times recently, and this is actually the third time I'm making this video over the course of 2 days now, because unfortunately I'm just very busy. But I think it's very important that we talk about preferential matchmaking, preferential premium tanks, because it is a big change that is coming to World of Tanks. That's exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to take a look at the news Wargaming have produced and put out on the Wargaming website. I will, of course, put the link down in the description below and you can check it out for yourself. So we're going to paraphrase and I'm going to give you guys the information that is the most important in my regards. So basically, 1.5 years ago, Wargaming changed the matchmaking system. They introduced a new matchmaking system that didn't just, pitch tanks against each other with the max limit of 2-tier difference. It's actually a patch that also looked into the categories of tanks and also at the same time the fairness of it all, because some tank types, there were games where people were playing against 10 medium tanks and they had absolutely 0 medium tanks on their team, and obviously those were pretty damn one-sided, because if you have 10 medium tanks on one side you can easily push your enemies out of the map, and those things are not supposed to happen anymore. And neither should tier 10 matches where one team is missing a tier 10 and it's replaced by a tier 9. That shouldn't happen anymore. So matchmaking, I think it's safe to say it has improved. It's still not there yet. It's not where we want it, but it has improved. And I think this is a very important thing that we have to keep in mind. Moving on now, matchmaking still needs some improvements. And unfortunately, since the changes they have implemented in matchmaking, some other features like the preferential matchmaking don't really work in sync. They don't really work together very well. World of Tanks is right now at a big waypoint where preferential matchmaking doesn't have a place anymore in World of Tanks, because the issue was that the 357 matchmaking system that they have in the game now is trying to pitch, let's say, tier 3 tier 10 tanks, 5 tier 9s, and 7 tier 8 tanks on one side. And unfortunately, preferential matchmaking vehicles cannot face tier 10s, right? Some of them can only face tier 9s, or most of them can only face tier 9s. Jack Tiger 88, KV5, or the T-2064, also known as the Super Pershing. Now the problem is that these tier 9s that would be needed in those 357 constellations are being abstracted into, taken into these preferential matchmaking battles where they have to fill the roles as top tier, and thus more tier 8s get flooded into tier 10 matches. And obviously that is not very beneficial, and it's not very nice for the tier 8 people, tier 8 players, because they constantly are getting harassed by tier 10s. And obviously this is a thing that needs to change. So they had two different ideas how to make it. And the first thing was readjust matchmaking. Not take out preferential matchmaking, but to keep it in the game and see that the tier 8s, the preferential matchmaking vehicles, like they take out preferential matchmaking, and these premium tanks that used to be preferential matchmaking vehicles still get a higher priority in these 357 scenarios, so that they will fight more as top tier against tier 6, tier 7, and tier 8 tanks. But it kind of messed up the entire dynamics of the matchmaking system, so they thought that's not going to work. So they have to manually fix every single preferential matchmaking tank. And that means every preferential matchmaking vehicle out there that currently is in the game will have to be overworked manually by Wargaming to fit into tier 9, tier 10 games, fit into tier 6, tier 7, tier 8 games. Doesn't matter which tier you are, it doesn't matter where you have preferential matchmaking, they have to fix every single tank. And there are quite a few. One that comes right into my mind is the Type 59, obviously. It's not facing tier 10s. Actually, no, the Type 59, does it face tier 10s? I'm not even sure. But some heavy tanks like the KB5, obviously the Super Pershing and the Jack Tanker 88, they don't face tier 10s. And that has been one of those things that really gave these tanks a bit of an edge, especially the T26C4. But they are not up to standard. Especially a KB5. That thing is just not up to standard. And so it is going to be the very first tank that will be rebalanced. And this is the big news. So they have to manually adjust every single tank. And the first vehicle that will be adjusted is going to be the KB5. And this is one of the oldest premium tanks in the game. One of the oldest vehicles actually in the game, bar none. Actually, because they added this vehicle very, very early on. I bought it way back a few years ago for about $30, and I've played it a few times. I have enjoyed it quite a lot, but it isn't on the same page as a Defender or an Amex M4 MLE 49. Obviously, these tanks are much better than the KB5. So what are they going to do? Well, they are going to buff the KB5. They will give it more damage per minute. They will give it more alpha damage. They will give it better pen. A standard shell penetration will be increased by 51 millimeters. That is a huge increase, 218 millimeters now. The premium shell penetration will increase by 24 millimeters as well. But as always, these things, all of these stats are still subject to change because the super tests will see if it's going to be better. So basically, they will want to make this vehicle stronger with its firing capacity, higher DPM, more alpha, better pen to make it on the same level as some other tier 8 tanks. 218 millimeters is basically a bit better than standard tier 8 premium tank, tier 8 premium medium tank pen with I think about 212 millimeters of pen. And I think that will work out because you'll be facing, let's say, IS-3s, and you'll be able to face it from the front. But obviously, one of the biggest problems with the with the KB5, was just the huge weak spot you had on the front. And this cupola on the front will be changed drastically. 50 millimeters of additional armor to the cupola on the front, giving you 200 millimeters of frontal armor now instead of the 150. There are a lot of places that will be upgraded. You can see the cupola on the very top is getting 40 millimeters of additional armor. The gun mantlet will get another additional 40 millimeters of armor. The turret will get another additional 40 millimeters of armor, and this will make this tank more aggressive. It will make it more of an assault vehicle, and I hope it will kind of negate the frontal cupola a little bit, because it's a huge weak spot and it does kind of destroy this tank in a lot of situations, because it's just, you can't really hide it. You can shoot it from everywhere, and it just really hurts the vehicle. But what always was great about this tank was its side and rear armor. A lot of people did decide to play this tank as some kind of reverse side scraping vehicle, with your ass. But this will no longer be possible, because you can see there are drastic changes. They're telling me this was supposed to be 243 millimeters of back armor. That no longer is valid anymore. Only 93 millimeters. Obviously, it's enough armor on the back to withstand high explosive shells, but still, that is a massive decrease of armor on the rear and on the side of this tank. You can see 50 millimeters less armor on the back side of the turret, of the hull, 60 millimeters less armor on the backside of the turret. 120 millimeters is still very nicely armored, but the 180 millimeters that we had previously just cannot be met with the same enthusiasm, or the 120 millimeters cannot be met with the same enthusiasm. Same goes for the side armor. 130 millimeters has been decreased by 100 from 150. Turret has been decreased from 180 to 150, and you can see that this tank no longer will be a side scraping, back scraping monster as it was previously. And those are the changes that will be coming in. People who currently own the KB5 have two options. You can either keep this tank and see how it is when it's fully upgraded, when it has gotten those new stats, or you can sell it. Actually, you don't have to sell it, or you can trade it in for another tier 8 premium tank or other premium tanks. And some of these exchange will cost you 2,000 gold maximum. For example, Scorpion might probably cost you 2,000 additional gold as a fee to the KB5, because this tank, when it was introduced into the game, I think they sold it about for $25. Now the price has probably doubled over those last few years, but still, I think I'm not sure. I'm not really supporting this idea, because I think you already paid for this tank. You should get the vehicle, and you should not have to pay additional to that. But that's just my opinion. I will keep my KB5, and I will obviously keep you guys informed as soon as the changes will hit the live server, since I don't have any access to the super test server. And I'll see that I make some more videos in the next upcoming days. I'm very much still in preparation for exams, but I will find some time in between that to make some videos, and I hope the quality will come back to the same standard as before. I apologize again for the very bad quality of the last video, and I'll answer your comments as soon as I can. Up until then, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on the KB5. Will you keep it? Do you even own it? Like, do you think it's a good change? Do you think this tank should be changed at all? Do you think preferential matchmaking actually is a good thing? Do you think it should stay in the game? Yeah, just write down your thoughts on this matter, and I will read it. Up until then, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.